So this is an activity that is based on the negative feedback mechanism of thyroxin. So before you can even start answering this question, try to label everything that you know. So this is under thyroxin hormone. So now we are going to try and label um, some of the things that we might know or identify. Um, Number one, there is your hypothalamus, right? And just below the hypothalamus there, you must remember that you have your pituitary gland, right? And your pituitary gland, in the case of thyroxine, it usually secretes what is known as what? TSH. And this TSH now will be secreted directly into the blood, and it will travel to the thyroid gland. So this will be your thyroid gland, and lastly your thyroid gland will therefore be stimulated to secrete thyroxine hormone. So this will be your thyroxine hormone. Now, one other thing that I want to make you aware is that you must either speak of less or more, right? If less TSH is released, therefore it will stimulate the thyroid hormone to secrete less thyroxine hormone. And when the pituitary gland realizes that there is now less thyroxine hormone, it will be stimulated to cause the TSH to secrete more. Okay, sorry about that. The pituitary gland will secrete more TSH, then the TSH will stimulate the thyroid gland to release more thyroxine gland, and therefore the thyroxine hormone, and your thyroxine will therefore increase. It will therefore increase. So yeah, when you are explaining that, you must talk about whether a certain hormone is being secreted more or less, because it is very important when it comes to negative feedback. So let's dive into the questions. Now let's look at number one. They say now provide a label for gland B. Gland B will be your thyroid. This will be your thyroid gland. Then the hormone C is what the thyroid gland secretes, so that will be your thyroxine hormone. Then they say now number three, state the function of hormone A. So for number three, how does hormone A function in your body? Well, that is TSH. TSH, right? TSH stimulates the thyroid gland to secrete more or less thyroxine. Right, that is what it does. So you must be in a position to be able to explain that. It's very important, very much important to explain that it is your TSH, because some learners mix them up. So pay a very close attention. TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, it even has it's self-explanatory. It stimulates. If it's thyroid stimulating hormone, meaning it stimulates the thyroid gland, right, to secrete more or less thyroxine hormone, depending on the situation. So that's number 3. And then let's go to number 4. They say now describe the negative feedback mechanism that operates when the level of hormone C is higher than normal in the blood. So higher than normal, what does that mean? It means it is too much in the blood, and what needs to happen is it has to decrease. It has to be decreased back to normal. So that's the first thing you must realize when you are dealing with this. You must say now, what type of a negative feedback am I dealing with here? So they're telling you that this is higher in the blood, so of course your body must rectify that by decreasing the amount. So how is it going to decrease this amount? Well, the first step to decreasing, this is number 4. The first step is that you must mention the stimulus, right? So the stimulus is thyroxin levels thyroxin level is higher, or you can say when thyroxin level is higher. Okay, let me write proper English here. When thyroxin level is higher than normal, it is important to mention this because this right here, this is your stimulus, right? When it is higher than normal, then what? When thyroxin level is higher than normal, the control center, which is your pituitary gland, the pituitary gland will secrete less TSH. Why is it secreting less TSH? Because it is trying to decrease the thyroxin level back to normal. So the pituitary gland will secrete less TSH, then the less TSH will stimulate the thyroid gland to secrete less thyroxin, right? And thus thyroxin levels decrease back to normal, right? So that is 5 marks there. Mentioning what is happening there. You mentioned the stimulus, number 1, and then you also mentioned the control center, which is the pituitary gland. That is the one that is monitoring what is happening with the levels. So it is trying to monitor these high levels of thyroxin by now saying, okay, this is too much now, let's try to decrease this by secreting less TSH into the blood. Then this less TSH will stimulate the thyroid gland to secrete less thyroxin, and lastly this will return the thyroxin levels back to normal, so by decreasing them. So that's how your negative feedback works. So remember, you have your pituitary gland. Here it is, the one that monitors everything. Then what it does is it will read as to how much of the hormone. Let's say let's start here. Here's your thyroxin hormone. Now if your thyroxin hormone increases, then the pituitary gland will detect the increase, and then the pituitary gland will try to secrete less TSH, and then less TSH causes the thyroid gland to secrete less thyroxin hormone, then the thyroxin hormone will decrease. Vice versa, if the thyroxin hormone levels decrease, then that means that the pituitary gland will therefore try to secrete more of the TSH, and then more TSH will be stimulating the thyroid gland to secrete more thyroxin hormone. Then the thyroxin hormone will increase back to normal. So that is how the negative feedback works. I will do another activity which is based on an investigation.